Hello and welcome to A Cat in the Garden. It is the last weekend of June when I'm filming this, and it has been a whirlwind of a month for sure, but the plants are all settled in and some of them have been doing really well in this new environment. They are really taking to this basement better than I thought they would have. It is a little bit cooler down here, but it has reached 70 degrees for a few days and the humidity is pretty good. So I think they are enjoying that. And while I did show off some plants that didn't make it through the move, there are some that are actually thriving. So I want to showcase those today and get back into my routine with my 5 favorite houseplants for the month of June. See you later, buddy. I'm going to start off with a Hoya, and I chose my Hoya Pubic Calyx Pink Silver Ghost. This is an absolutely gorgeous pubic calyx, and I just love collecting pubic calyx. I love collecting Hoya, and I love collecting silver plants. So here is the epitome of all of that. This was, if you remember, 2 plants that I potted together because the first one I bought is a little bit more splashy than silver. So I bought a second one from Sam's Hoyas back here. It did have a new leaf that it lost in the move, but I'm really hoping now that we're all settled, it'll start growing again soon. It is much more silver than the larger plant that I have, and I can always chop this back if I want to, but for now, until it's much more established and bigger, I'm going to let it grow. It does have a new set of leaves right here, and there's a decent amount of silver. I really like how this is a half moon type of vibe. So it's just been really easygoing, as pubic calyx are, but it's a little bit different from a typical pubic calyx because of the amount of silver. So all in all, it's just a lovely plant, and it's been a bright spot in the move because it did so well. Like I said, it only lost 1 leaf right here that was really tiny anyway, so for all I know, I could have knocked it when I was packaging all the plants in, cramming them like sardines, so that could have been my fault anyway, but this plant did really well and it continues to do so. I'm not surprised that a lot of my big boy plants did great, one of which is my Mexicanum that has 2 new leaves. So there's one right there, and underneath it is the other one. This plant is fantastic. I am so glad I got this for $5 at PlantCon Dallas. One of the best plant purchases I have ever made. I feel like I cannot live without this philodendron. It's so much fun. I love the red backs on the leaves, and it's just a steady grower. It's loving life on this pole, at least the one that I have attached. This one is getting close to tall enough, the other vine here. And I do like that I have 2 active vines growing. It just makes the plant look a lot more full than a single vine. I always like to have 2 or 3. I think that's the sweet spot when you are growing a climbing plant. So I have 2 here. I have absolutely no intention of chopping this anytime soon. So I'm glad that this is one of my few large plants that didn't get beheaded in the move, and I have another one to show that didn't get beheaded either. But some of my super large ones, they did get a chop and beheaded. So this is great. I'm gonna celebrate this plant every chance I get because it's so wonderful. It's so easygoing, and I feel like it's just enough. It's not completely basic like a typical arabescens because of the leaf shape and the red backs and the leaves, but it's not doing too much either. It's doing the perfect amount, and it is wonderful. I even got a nice little plant stand for it just because it's not the biggest of big plants yet. So I have it up on a little 1.5 to 2 foot plant stand, and it's loving life right now. Here is the Mexicanum plant stand that I was talking about. Nothing fancy, but it gets the job done. While we're talking about big boys, this is my smallest Monstera albo. Working on a new leaf right now that does have a good amount of white that is yet to unfurl, but this is the latest leaf that is hardened off. It did put out 1 low color leaf, but I'm not really worried about it reverting or anything. I think I did buy it as a low color albo because of this leaf back when I got it as a cutting, maybe the leaf before it. Also, there was another leaf that's gone now. But this plant did take the move really well also. Like I said, again, it's not too big that it got beheaded. I feel like this was the perfect size plant to move with. So I'm taking mental notes that the Mexicanum, the size of this albo, great for moving. So if I want to chop plants down to about this size before my next move, that's probably going to be ideal. But this plant is wonderful. Yeah, it's got a little bit of cosmetic damage on the older leaves, but it continues to size up really nicely. The leaves are actually facing the light that's above my head now, and so that's sort of where it's trying to grow, which is fine. I think it looks great. And then once I move again, they'll adjust to whatever light source I have. It's just been a reliable plant. That's what Monstera albos are for me. I love them so much, and I want to collect a ton of them. I think they're absolutely gorgeous, and they're so much fun to grow, and they're so much easier than I thought they were before I bought my first one. They're just so cool. I love this plant. There's a better look at the white on the new leaf that's unfurling, so it's got a decent amount, even if it doesn't look like it from the part that's already unfurled. Currently editing this video, and I wanted to show off the Monstera albo leaf because it is fully unfurled now. Just needs to harden off. My next favorite for June is my Hoya fungii on an Arca trellis, of course. And this is a plant that wasn't doing the best for a long time because I don't think I was watering it as much as it needed. It was just in a spot that was hard to reach. But ever since the move, there is a lot of new growth. So I've got little leaves popping up on a couple different nodes. There is an active peduncle there. There's one here. There's a couple on the really long vine I have here, but it did flower from this vine before. And I don't have this along the trellis because it was wrapped around my garment rack before. So that's sort of why this is a bit wonky, but I love how splashy it is. I know not all fungi have this level of splash. I have chopped it up a few times. I originally got this as a 2-node cutting from Jacqueline's Jungle as part of a Secret Santa. That's how we met. And it's just completely taken off over the years. So I got this in 2021. So December of this year will be 5 years with this plant. And I know, again, I have chopped it up, so after 5 years, it should be bigger than this, but I did chop it several times. I wanted to make it a lot more full, so I think I have 3 vines that are growing in the plant, or 3, no, I have 4. I have 4 plants in here. So yeah, that would explain why it's not quite as big as it probably should be for a 5-year-old plant, but I really wanted to make it look more full, and I think I've achieved that now. It just looks so great, and especially this leaf is so splashy right here. There it is. It's so stinking cute. I love the wide leaves that it displays. They're wide, they have a little bit of texture, and you can see the veins, especially in the light. Just a really cool Hoya, and I feel like people don't talk about fungi that much. And I do have a couple of fungi hybrids too, and they always are just so pretty, so forgiving. Really is a strong Hoya. And it can take a little bit of neglect, as evidenced by my underwatering for a couple years. And it's still here, it's still kicking back better than ever. So I'm really hoping that I get all of these new leaves this summer on it. It hasn't had much new growth this year. I think it just bloomed a couple of times in early spring in Texas. And so hopefully I'll get some new leaves, and I will probably consider chopping it again, especially if any of these vines grow leaves, because I'd like to make it a little bit more compact and manageable. Maybe eventually give it a larger trellis than this. I think it could benefit from something larger at this point. This was useful for the first few years, but it's ready for an upgrade, I think. Finally, for my last favorite for the month of June, it's a plant that needs a little bit of TLC in terms of getting it up this pole, but this is my Scindapsus Hallie Moon. And I think out of all of my Scindapsus, this one took the move the best, probably followed by my regular Jade Satin, because that one is so large. It did pretty well also. So I'm not sure what about the Hallie Moon made it so hardy, but it's doing great. I'm loving this new leaf that recently unfurled. There were a couple of nodes here that didn't give me leaves, but that's probably because I didn't have it attached to the pole up here. So hopefully we can get back on track in terms of leaf growth. If not, I'm always open to chopping up my Scindapsus. That is something I need to do with a bunch of mine anyway. So not the end of the world if I end up having to do it, but this plant is so healthy. It's so beautiful. I love the variegation on it. It's much different than the donor leaf I have down here, but it's still beautiful. I don't really mind either way. It is interesting how this leaf is lighter than the other leaves here. It's much more white than the green here. I really think it's temperature dependent. Temperature and maybe light, so daylight hours. Though in Maine in the summer, the daylight hours are quite long. So maybe it's more temperature. I know that is a big thing with Paraiso Verde. I've noticed it with my Marble Queen Pothos as well. So I think that does have something to do with how the variegation is displayed on plants like this. I always say this is like my Marble Queen Pothos, but the Scindapsus version. So that is why I like it so much. I love my Marble Queen Pothos. I love Scindapsus. This is the best of both worlds. And it continues to just be a slow but steady grower for me. Really doesn't require much work. I think that's the theme across all of the plants I picked today. They're very hardy, very reliable. I don't tend to underwater my Scindapsus much at all anyway, because I pay the most attention to them. They're all on a nice little shelf behind me, so it's very easy to see when they're thirsty. It looks like I watered them recently because this has got little water showing on the leaf, so I don't think I've ever really neglected them, but this plant really proved to be a trooper, and I'm happy about that. So that is all for my houseplant favorites for the month of June. Nothing is currently flowering, which is a bit of a bummer. I think last year I just had constant streams of flowers on my Hoya, so maybe it's because of the shock of moving. I probably won't have as many blooms this year, but maybe next year I'll have a lot. The plants will be even more established then. I mean, I have a lot more bigger plants than I used to, so a lot more flowers anyway. Just a little bit of a bummer. I feel like this would have been peak flowering season for my Hoya, but I still have lots of new growth to appreciate anyway. My medium to large plants are doing great. Some of the smaller Hoya really didn't appreciate the move and I lost a few, but I think some I was able to save by chopping them up too. So just a lot of new growth happening, a lot of changes of course, but we've got our nice little plant room set up. I think everything is settled in now, cats included, and I'm hoping to see a lot more growth this summer. I am really fortunate in this basement. There are windows. So there's 3 decent sized windows to my right. On top of all the grow lights I have, I do have a rack of plants by one of the windows. So I'm thinking they'll get enough natural light on top of the grow lights I have to really continue growing. And I don't think it'll be too much of a low light problem, though some of the plants I have do fine in low light, like the Pothos and the Scindapsus. But I know my Hoya and a lot of the Monstera appreciate higher light, so I'm really trying to be on top of that too, just to keep the growth coming throughout the summer. But that is all for this video. If you liked it, make sure to give Nutmeg and I here a thumbs up down below and subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here on the channel. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.